Good morning, everybody. How we doing on this fine Tuesday morning? Had a great morning myself, even though I had a late night. Was up early, mostly just checking on fantasy football stuff, clinched a playoff spot. So fist bumps all around for that. But I'm excited to get into what we have going on today. In terms of what we're waiting on this week, we know the spies in this, daily rising wedge. We're waiting for that to bust to the downside. We kind of teased it a bit yesterday and looking to see some capitulation here, meaning looking to see the market just say, hey, I'm a little bit tired. I'm going to give it up. We're looking to see that over the course of the coming days. But in the meantime, we got to make sure we stay on top of all the news, notes, analysis, and important things going on in markets. So, got a good productive morning in, got some stretching in, got a little gratitude meditation in, right? For anybody who's part of the Liberated Soul Challenge, I went ahead and listened to that meditation. That was great. Great way to start your day, just full of gratitude for everything: sunshine, the wind, the leaves, all that great stuff. You just live a much more fulfilled life when you recognize that every single thing, right, is a blessing because you didn't have to be here to experience it. So, yeah, great day yesterday. Looking to follow that up with a great day today and just see what the market has for us. So everybody make sure you throw your ones in the chat, signifying your intention to get 1% better. You want to make your intention known, state your intention. Otherwise, what is it? A dream, a thought. You want to make sure that you put intention, you put action behind each and everything that you do. And that's the key, right? That's the goal right there. So in terms of news, we're going to go over our newsletter here this morning. Let's see what we got going on, and I'm going to dive directly into it. Also got my little run in this morning, which was nice. Let's see. Powering through. Do I need to refresh? Might need to refresh my email here. No, there it is. Oh, it's all too late. Now we're still waiting. But I hope all you guys had a great morning as well. Got my run in. It was 30 degrees. I did not want to get that run in. Last night's NFL game went till like midnight because it went to overtime. But ran up a bag on the NFL game. Might post about that as well. And see if you guys will be down for throwing a little bit at the end of the NFL season, right? Season's almost over, but throwing a little bit of pizzazz in there, mixing it up with some weekend sports bets, just in terms of football. I only bet on things that I watch and things that I have a system for. No different than the market. But in terms of our top news for today, out of cash, funding for foreign policy priorities remains stuck on Capitol Hill as dire warnings abound over what it might mean for national security. Back in October, President Biden had requested $106 billion in supplemental funding, including $61.4 billion for Ukraine, $14.3 billion for Israel, $7.4 billion for Taiwan in the Indo-Pacific, and $13.6 billion for the U.S.-Mexico border, urging Congress to pass the measure as a comprehensive bipartisan agreement. However, tensions continue to brew over aid for Kiev and immigration and asylum procedures, as well as what priorities should be tied to what bills to get things over the finish line. Quote, I want to be clear, without congressional action by the end of the year, we will run out of resources to procure more weapons and equipment for Ukraine and to provide equipment from U.S. military stocks, White House Budget Director Shalana Young wrote in a letter to congressional leaders. There's no magical pot of funding available to meet this moment. We are out of money and nearly out of time. If Ukraine's economy collapses, they will not be able to keep fighting. Full stop. Putin understands this well, which is why Russia has made destroying Ukraine's economy central to his strategy, which you can see in its attacks against Ukraine's grain exports and energy infrastructure. The U.S. came close to a government shutdown at the end of September, with some last-minute deal-making that kicked the fight into the new year and left out key foreign aid initiatives. Young further said the new round of national security funding and contracts would bring benefits to the U.S. economy. Quote, for example, air defense systems built in Alabama, Texas, and Georgia, and vital subcomponents sourced from nearly all 50 states. On the other hand, a failure to pass the measure would, quote, kneecap Ukraine on the battlefield, not only putting at risk the gains Ukraine has made, but increasing the likelihood of Russian military victories. Now, in terms of market movement, while Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Lockheed, their ticker is LMT, Raytheon, ticker RTX, and Northrop Grumman, ticker NOC, all saw outsized gains in 2022 following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The three biggest defense giants deflated this year, recording share losses ranging from 6 to 18%, despite an influx of new orders. That's important to note, right? Again, we see here, an example of how not always does good news translate to positive price action, right? You want to see the chart start to move in the way that you anticipate it to move, right? The chart needs to tell you what's likely to happen. News should not be the only reason why you're placing a trade. Because as you can see here, you couldn't think of a more bullish case for these defense companies with our defense capabilities running low because of how much we're giving, overseas and all these different orders that are being put in. And those companies are still struggling year to date. So it's not always about the news. You have to be able to break down the charts. If you can't break down the charts, you know where you need to go. AdamHollanEducates.com. Enrolling Stock Options Made Easy. Look to learn and understand and decipher the messages that the charts are telling you and then make moves based off that, right? And it turns out it pays quite handsomely. In terms of tech news here, Future Network dealing a blow to Nokia, ticker NOK. AT&T is buying up to $14 billion of cell tower equipment in a 5-year deal with Swedish supplier Ericsson, ticker ERIC, ERIC, to deploy its commercial scale open radio access network. Open RAN would allow interoperation between telecom network gear from different vendors, thereby cutting costs drastically. AT&T is aiming for 70% of its wireless traffic to flow through open cloud-based platforms by late 2026. Nokia dropped 11% aftermarket on Monday, adding to intraday losses amid speculation that it may no longer be a 5G vendor for AT&T. Meanwhile, Ericsson jumped 8% after hours, building upon the gains seen during the regular session. Do I care to jump in on Ericsson? Absolutely not. This is news where it's kind of like, okay, good to know, but not planning to make any moves based off of it. In terms of economic news, export controls, the U.S. may soon add more curbs on tech exports to China. Technology changes, China changes, and we have to keep up with it, Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo declared, calling the restrictions on the sale of advanced semiconductors and related gear a bold move and necessary because these semiconductors are unbelievably powerful. NVIDIA had even previously delayed the launch of a new AI chip it designed to comply with U.S. export curbs in a heavily discussed development in the sector. Meanwhile, Seeking Alpha analyst Blue Sea Research sees a lower chip demand in 2024, saying Chinese tech firms already hoarded them prior to the restrictions. That's an interesting point at the end of that. I never thought about that. I never heard that before. I wonder if they did, in fact, hoard them before the restrictions. If so, that was probably smart. But yeah, this is just, kind of ongoing conflict, right? Ongoing semi-war, right? Economic warfare that's just been nonstop, really, between the U.S. and China. Everybody trying to stifle each other. It's like if you're in a marathon race with somebody and you keep, you dump Legos in the racetrack and you, replace their water with rice vinegar and like all this stuff to just try and slow them down because they remain competition. This is just another one of those, kind of tricks that the U.S. is just playing on China, and China will do something back. And, the dragon eats his tail. We go round and round. In terms of trending news, AI Alliance. This is interesting. As the debate over open versus closed artificial intelligence development rages, Meta Platforms and IBM have launched a coalition of over 50 AI firms and research institutes advocating for an open source model. The group's stance differs from the closed approach of rivals Google, ticker GOOG and GOOGL, and ChatGPT maker OpenAI, backed by Microsoft, amid growing safety concerns over AI's power. Members of the new alliance include AMD, Intel, Fast AI, CERN, and more. We believe it's better when AI is developed openly. More people can access the benefits and work on safety, said Nick Clegg, president of global affairs at Meta. Last month, over 15 countries inked the first detailed pact on AI safety. Yeah, it's one of those things where you really hope that we can get it together in time, but AI is just developing so fast. We'll see. Regulation normally does not keep pace with what it is trying to regulate. But this is something where you continue to keep a beat on things. Just keep your ear to the streets, hear the updates, and then you can kind of make decisions from there. But these big tech companies are the largest, most influential, entities in the world for a reason. Typically, when they want to get something done, they will get something done. for better or for worse. In terms of today's markets, in Asia, Japan down 1.4%, Hong Kong down 1.9%, China down 1.7%, India up 0.6%. At midday in London, we're down 0.6%, Paris up 0.2%, Frankfurt up 0.2%, the Dow down 0.3%, S&P down 0.4%, NASDAQ down 0.7%, crude down 0.1%, gold flat, Bitcoin up 0.4% to 41,724. Today's economic calendar, we've got the PMI composite final. That's at 9:45. So that could be something, again, where we get that 15 minutes after open. We see some, short-term volatility because of that. 10 a.m., we have ISM service index. So 2 pieces of minor data happening this morning. It's nothing going to be to the scope of like Powell speaking, but, it could be something that influences price action. So it's worth paying attention to and monitoring there. Now, we're going to wrap up with our rapid fire stock news rundown. 22 nations commit to triple nuclear power capacity. Intel, ticker INTC, wins appeal of $2.2 billion patent infringement ruling. Apple iPhone production halted in India amid heavy rains. CME Group reports highest November ADV on record. Saudi oil production cuts could absolutely continue past March. 23andMe, whose ticker is ME, data breach, only 0.1% of user accounts affected. Tay's exec claims Hamas used short selling ahead of October 7th. I saw that. That's crazy. Basically, someone shorted the Israeli stock market days before the terrorist attack happened, which is just absolutely wild. Supreme Court wrestles with Purdue Pharma's bankruptcy deal. Bears refuse to acknowledge new all-time highs in 2024. Yeah, I mean, this was like the quietest all-time highs ever. Like, did you guys hear anything about all-time highs except for me? Like, no one was talking about it. It's just crazy the difference in narrative. And I talked about this. I'm not a huge politics guy. I don't care what old non-melanated fart is in the Oval Office, to be completely honest. I'm going to vote. I'm going to do my thing, right? I'm going to do my civic duty that people died to get me. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's best for me. That's all you can do. The president, to be completely honest, is not going to have a major impact on my life. I'm the one that's going to, regardless of what Powell does, Biden does, Trump does, Obama does, George Bush does, whoever it is, right? I don't care. Whoever it is, at the end of the day, I've got to make pivots based off of whatever happens. So it's like, I don't really care. But it is just funny the difference in narratives between when the market reaches all-time highs over Trump and then when it reaches all-time highs under Biden. It's like under Trump, you can't, go get a hot dog from the freaking hot dog stand in New York without somebody saying, hey, stock market a new all-time high, But then the shoe is on the other foot and it's just crickets. So it's funny, but that's the world that we live in. Anyways, that's enough politics talk. I try to limit that as much as possible because it's like the worst thing to bring up, ever. But yeah, anyways, guys, let's look to have a great day today. Glad that you could be here, get 1% better. If you enjoy what goes on here, make sure you show love to the account right over on Instagram. Show some love, throw some comments, some saves, some sends. All that helps me, just like I come here every morning to help you guys to make sure that we execute the best that we can in markets. Didn't used to do it, right? This is a new thing. You might have met me after this, but this is a new thing, right? So let's make sure that we can kind of all encourage the community so we can keep it up and keep it pushing and keep winning. So with that, everybody have a great rest of your day. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for Premarket Prep session. Have a good one.